Hi everybody, it's Gemma. Welcome back to Pampered Wolf. I haven't done a foundation review on my channel for quite some time now because the last one that I did was pretty much a full-blown disaster. Today I'm hoping we're going to get through relatively unscathed. I'm going to be reviewing the brand new foundation from Maybelline. This is an affordable foundation. It's the Dream Radiant Liquid and they say this is perfect for anybody with a dry skin, which is me. Hope this is perfect on me. Anyway, this was released a while ago in the US, but it was only released in the UK around about 10 days ago, and I went straight to Superdrug, got my shade, and I've been wearing it off and on ever since. So this is not going to be a first impressions review. I already know how this is going to wear on my skin, whether it's going to sit in fine lines and wrinkles, whether it needs powdering, whether it's transfer resistant, and all that jazz. So if you're interested in finding out my thoughts and opinions on this and also seeing a full wear test, then please do keep watching. Also, please make sure you are following me on Instagram. It's at Pampered Wolf, all lowercase, no spaces. And please make sure you have subscribed to my channel and come and join the Pampered Wolf pack. We are a friendly bunch. I upload on Mondays and Thursdays at 8 PM London time, and make sure you've clicked on that notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. Now let's do a little bit of bump on the new Maybelline foundation, and then I'll get some on my face. So this is the brand new Maybelline Dream Radiant Liquid Foundation. It's £8.99 in the UK, which is completely the opposite end of the spectrum to all the products that I've been reviewing recently on my channel. $12.99 in the US, and you get the standard 30 mils. Now this comes in 18 different shades, which is pretty meh, could do better, and the website says that this will give a medium coverage. This will also give a natural radiant finish to the skin, and it has hyaluronic acid and collagen in here, and the formula will deliver up to 12 hours of hydration in a day. So for those dry skins, absolutely fantastic. This will also plump up the skin and give a really plump, youthful look. This is also completely unscented, which is a huge plus for me. As you all know, I really don't like a product with a scent that's going to go on my skin because my skin has started to become very sensitive to anything with a scent in. So let's get some of this on the skin. So as per usual, I've got all my skincare on and I've given that plenty of time to sink into my skin before I'm applying the foundation. I'm going to squirt it onto the back of my hand and apply half of my face with a brush and half of it with a sponge. I have only actually tested this out with the Tati Beauty Blenderful before because I was trying to practice with the Blenderful, so I haven't used this with a brush or a sponge before, so this is going to be interesting. I've got some absolutely fantastic new brushes to trial out, but because I haven't tried them yet with this foundation, I will stick with my old faithful, which is the Revolution Pro 230 brush, which again, still not available to buy. Not quite sure why, but it's not. Anyway, we're going to get half of the face on. I seem to have been doing lots of high-end products on my channel recently, and I do like to keep a balance between the affordable and the high-end. It's just turned out that everything's been quite expensive at the moment, so I really wanted to get this out for everybody because this is a really affordable foundation. Now it does say that this is medium coverage on the website. I actually wouldn't agree with that. I think this can be very sheer. If I zoom you in on my cheek area, this is one layer of the foundation. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful and I really like it. But I wouldn't say it's medium coverage. I would say it's more light coverage. Especially you'll find that when I go in with the sponge. I really like the coverage though. You can build this up and I've got this to quite full medium coverage. It's quite a thick product when you look at it on the back of your hand. It's very creamy, it does stand proud. But when you get it on the face, it is so easy to blend into the skin. It feels very much like a serum on the skin, but not runny. I'm not sure if that actually makes sense. I know what I mean. Hopefully you will as well. So you can actually apply this with a brush, with a sponge, with the blendful, with your fingers. It goes on really smoothly regardless of what you apply it with, so you get a really, really nice finish. Just look at that, it's so nice. Really is nice. Slightly too pale for me, possibly, this one, but I will deepen it a little bit with a bit of bronzer a bit later. Okay, let's do the other side. Now, I have put 2 pumps onto the back of my hand when I first started, and it's gone a really long way using the brush. So you get much lighter coverage, obviously, with a sponge. So you can really sheer this out. This feels very much like a tinted moisturiser when you put it on with a sponge. It's so, so lightweight. Have you seen this little mark? I can't cover it up. I was doing some sewing the other day. Yes, you heard me right. I was doing sewing. And I'm not very good at sewing. So the needle, I was trying to pull it and the needle, and it hit me in the face. And yeah, not my finest 5 minutes. There was a lot of blood and now I'm struggling to cover it. So I think you get a really smooth coverage regardless of whether you're putting it on with a brush or a sponge. I think the coverage is really, really smooth. Obviously, you're going to get a lot more coverage if you're putting it on with a brush than if you're putting it on with a sponge. I'm feeling like I need to layer this up a little bit because it's showing a little bit too much when I'm applying it with a sponge. My favourite method of application for this is a brush. So both sides are done. I am in love with this foundation. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It feels beautiful on the skin. It feels really lightweight whilst also feeling hydrating and nourishing on the skin, which is quite difficult to do because I do feel like some nourishing foundations feel quite heavy and thick on the skin, and this just doesn't feel like that at all. I've used around about 3 pumps of the foundation, which is quite a lot for me. Usually 2 pumps maximum is all that I need, but I did go through quite a lot when I was applying it on the sponge side. I think the sponge did absorb quite a bit and I felt like I needed a little bit more coverage on this side, so I had to use a little bit more. Other than that, I think this is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It's not too tacky on the skin either, which for a hydrating foundation is not usual. Usually they stay very, very tacky. This isn't set yet, so I will withhold my judgment on the tackiness on the surface of the skin until I've got my other products on as well. This is trying to sit in the fine lines around my mouth, so this is going to need setting in place. I've also noticed that on my eyelids, this really is trying to collect into all the lines on my eyelids as well, so definitely going to need setting in place. Doesn't mean you're going to need to set the entire face in place, but you are going to have to set it around those fine lines and wrinkles if you don't want it to move and try and collect. A tip for you is to always take a blending sponge around those fine lines and just remove any excess product around that area so you get less collection in those fine lines and wrinkles. Now, this is not settling into any of my dryness. I do have quite a lot of dryness around my mouth area at the moment, and this just looks beautiful. I'm going to go and put the rest of my products on. I will be right back, and then I'm going to show you it in natural lighting. So that is the finished look for today. Let me show you this in natural lighting so you can really get to grips with how this looks on my skin. So as you can see, it's really, really smooth. It's definitely not medium coverage. You can still see some acne scarring through this, but it hasn't sank into any of my dry patches whatsoever. It just sits really, really beautiful on the skin. It hasn't clung to any dry patches around my nose at all. It's just really, really smooth on my forehead. This is the perfect consistency for a foundation. It's also the perfect coverage for me. Obviously, it does need building up on the cheeks a little bit where I've got a little bit of acne scarring, but other than that, I really, really like this foundation. I find it really plumping on the skin. Now I have all my other products on, I haven't powdered absolutely everywhere. There still is a slight bit of tackiness on the skin. This is not going to be one of those foundations that is transfer resistant or transfer proof. So if you do wear a lot of white and that white does tend to rub against your face, you are going to get some transfer with this foundation. If you prefer a transfer proof foundation, this is not going to be it. But I do think this is a beautiful, beautiful foundation. It just gives that beautiful, radiant, natural glow to the skin without looking like foundation and a really heavy, thick foundation. I just really, really like it. My one main bugbear with this foundation, and it's not actually with this foundation, it's with drugstore foundations in general. There isn't a list of the shades that are available for a cool, a neutral, or a warm undertone. And it really, really annoys me that they haven't got to grips with this concept yet, because it would be so much easier picking the correct shade and undertone for your skin. This one was slightly too pale for me, but it was also a little bit too pink for my undertone. So if there was a list of all the undertones and all the shades that were available at Maybelline, then it would have been a lot easier. But it's not just Maybelline, it's all drugstore foundations. You are all guilty of this, and I really wish you would change it, because it'd be so much easier if you did. Anyway, I'm going to wear this all day. I will check in with you a little bit later on and tell you how I'm getting on. See you all in a bit. Welcome back to the check-in. It's now been just under 10 hours since I first applied the foundation to my face, and it's done really well. I would quite happily go out to the pictures or a meal with Wes to somewhere really relaxed without touching my face up at all. If there was no other alternative, it wouldn't be a big deal for me at this moment. I still think it looks pretty decent. However, there are some drawbacks to this foundation. I want to zoom you in so that you can see this in natural lighting and really get up close and personal and really understand what I'm talking about. So come a little closer, come a little closer. Okay, so as you can see, my skin is a lot dewier than it was when I first applied the foundation. This is a hydrating foundation, so there's no surprise there. However, some of the foundation has broken down and disappeared throughout the day. So on my chin area and also around my nose, namely really the areas that I get oily but also have dry patches. Now the problem with that is the foundation is still clinging to those dry patches, but it's disappeared from the surrounding areas of those dry patches, which actually makes the drier areas seem a little bit more evident. Now, I am being really picky because the foundation still looks really, really nice, and the areas that I powdered still look perfect. It's only the areas that I didn't powder that I've got missing foundation patches. So that's definitely something to think about when I wear it in the future. And also, this foundation started to break down around about my nose and on my chin after around about 7 hours. And possibly a primer might help with the longevity of this foundation. So it's not all doom and gloom. I really like the way that this foundation looks even after this length of time. It looks stunning when you first apply it. I just wish it lasted that little bit longer. Now, this has not gone cakey on any of the areas, which is really good for a hydrating foundation. And it is super, super hydrating. It still feels really lightweight on my skin, and I haven't done anything to my face. I've not blotted my skin throughout the day. I've not added any more powder, so this is completely untouched. So I can't complain. I still really like the way that it looks. If this was a little bit fuller coverage, I perhaps wouldn't like it, because you would be able to really noticeably see the difference between the patches that were there and the patches that weren't. But because this is actually quite a light coverage, I think it gets away with it really, really well. So I really like this foundation. I think it looks very, very flattering on my skin. This is one for anybody with normal to dry skin. This definitely isn't going to be for anybody with an oily skin. I think this would just slip straight off the face because it is super hydrating, and I think it will be a little too hydrating for anybody with a more oily complexion. So maybe next time when I wear this foundation, I'll add a little bit of primer underneath the foundation to increase the longevity, dust a little bit of powder over those oilier areas, so on my nose and chin area, to make that foundation last a little bit longer and stay in place. And also a spritz of setting spray wouldn't go amiss, and just make the foundation last a little bit longer, because I would have liked it to have still been intact at the 10-hour mark. Nevertheless, I've really liked how this foundation has sat on my skin, and it's my sort of coverage. It's really, really beautiful. Anyway, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Do let me know what you think about it in the comments section below, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.